gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Once again, apologies for the delay between this video and the last one. I know that there has been a very big gap. I did tell you though before last video that I would take a break because of we were moving houses and whatnot. So yes, there have been lots of things happening, and it sort of didn't allow me to do too much chess. But now we are back in full swing, and I thought that it would be a very appropriate return to YouTubing, and in particular to the No Die Classic series, by going through some very juicy Sicilian attacking games. So today I have got on the menu, for starters, Kholmov versus Bronstein, one of the most famously known Sicilian attacking games that can be found out there, and for a very good reason. So let's dive right into the middle of it and have a look at this mainline Najdorf, which by the way is also close to my heart, because after a very long period of time with the bishop c4 variation, now I am also revisiting, or rather adding bishop g5 to my repertoire as white. Not that I really do count as a player anymore, but when I'm playing online, I do pull out the bishop g5 variation every now and then again. Alright, so we have got the main line with g4 and b5, and by far the most popular variation here after bishop takes is knight takes f6, g5, knight e7, f5, bishop g5, king b1, knight e5, queen h5, with crazy complications, both the bishop and the pawn hanging due to the pin. So this is a very topical main line. Lots of fun to be found there, but Bronstein wanted to be unique and he took back with the pawn. This is not necessarily a bad idea in general in the Sicilian. This pawn structure is actually quite commonplace, and this can be very sturdy, but due to white's very aggro setup, now he gets to hit it very quickly with f5, which almost always is the way to bite into this, trying to force e5, which would give access for white to the vitally important d5 square. And if black tries to hold on to the e6 pawn, just like in the game, then white has got here a move that, by the way, is better than what happened in the game, which is this knight e2, knight f4. Slow positional plan, but it's a really deadly one, because as soon as we force the pawn from e6 to take on f5, black's position collapses positionally because of the too many white holes. Now instead, however, he white embarked on what later turned out to be one of the greatest attacks in the Sicilian, but as I said before, it wasn't necessarily the best move. He played g5, very aggressive, trying to open up the g file and or the diagonal towards e6, and this was the point where black needed to be very cautious, and in fact take on g5 was the only move to sort of stay in this game. And after d fe knight e6, this very sneaky queen d7 move is the one that I think Bronstein may not have seen when calculating this line. The point is that if I take the rook, then after queen takes queen, bishop, the knight gets trapped, and black is easily winning. And so white, he needs to play the clever knight d5, which is responded to by the clever rook f3, and we get into this endgame scenario where black has got no problems whatsoever. But chess history would be significantly poorer by an absolute masterpiece if black had chosen that. Luckily, black played b4, and now all hell is about to break loose. Takes f6, bishop takes, rook g1 check, king h8, queen h6, queen e7. I think this is the position that Bronstein envisaged when he played b4, and to his defense, more often than not you find in the Sicilian that even against a somewhat broken king's defense, if black has the dark squared bishop and white doesn't, then it's very difficult to break through, because all the weaknesses happen to be on the dark squares, and all of them are controlled, dominated in fact, by the two black pieces, the queen and the bishop. So if white wants to create heat threats, he will have to pull some serious bunnies out of the hat, because it's not that easy to see how white could anywhere near to these pieces in particular that are blockading the position in a beautiful fashion. And as a direct result of a dark squared blockade, in contrast, you can see that this bishop finds it extremely difficult to find a useful square or a useful target even. So this looks like a very gloomy picture, but there is an absolutely amazing solution to this problem, and white in fact can get around attacking this f6 bishop, and that's what is going to decide this game in an extremely beautiful fashion. So when I said that white needed to pull out the bunny from the hat, well, that's what he did by playing knight c6 here. An amazing beginning to a fantastic attack. The queen can't move anyway because that would allow mating once, so the knight has to be captured. And here comes the point of this whole entire craziness, pawn e5. So once again, typical and very, very usual method of attacking. Almost always the decisive breakthrough takes place on the square that is controlled by the largest number of black pieces. It's not a rule or a law of chess, but you will find that a lot of combinations are based on this idea. And in this case, this move is merely a square and a diagonal cleaning. So it's a clearance sacrifice. The way how it works is nonetheless stunningly beautiful. Let's go one by one. If not, pawn takes pawn, then simply after knight e4, white gets to attack the bishop and black has no moves to defend it. Quite amazing. But the bishop on f6 is caught in no man's land, can't be defended, it can't move anyway because it allows mate, and so consequently we are facing a knockout. In fact, we are right in it. If the knight takes an e5, the response is very similar, knight e4. Now the only difference is that in this case black still has one defensive move left, which is knight e7, but unfortunately for him, this puts the black army into such a passive and awkward spot that white can afford yet another move that creates only a next move threat, which is rook takes d7 followed by knight f6. This threat, however, cannot be met. And once again, white is going to go in an absolutely beautiful fashion. The only sensible thing to do here, I suppose, would be bishop e5, but again f6, once again targeting the most heavily protected square. Knight can't take because of mate, queen can't take because of queen loss. Bishop has to take, and again we are back to takes d7, whatever takes back, knight takes f6, and double mate threats decide the issue. Absolutely awesome stuff, really, really amazing chess. And basically this was the essence of the game, because what happened from here on was basically just trying to survive in vain in a dead lost position by giving a check and then playing f6, opening up the 7th rank. But the problem here is that yeah, white can easily let go of the piece on c3 and just build up the attack on the g file, and combined efforts on the pressure of the e6 pawn, it is just not tenable. Take on b2, king b1, not the typical procedure of not taking yet, because that would expose our king to check, so we're just hiding, and we're doubling up. And after rook d7 came the last, the final knockout blow, really beautiful, although according to the computer this is not accurate, and instead first king takes b2 should have been preferred. It's quite subtle to understand why, and I really do like this straight to the point style of chess that Kholmov is playing here. Beautiful stuff. He plays d7 for the 3rd time in the game. The decisive action again takes place on the square that is the most heavily fortified. Can't be a coincidence. The idea, of course, is to confuse the defenders. If the bishop takes, then rook g7 is winning because we managed to cut out the rook from on the 7th rank from the defense. Whereas if the rook takes, which happened in the game, that means that the bishop is not participating in the defense, so now we get to use this fork. And note that on knight takes e6, bishop takes, the queen can't take because mating 1, which means that the game is over. Now here black still threw in a few spy checks, but in the end of the day, that was all she wrote. White came out victorious with an extra rook after an absolutely stunning and amazing attack. Once again, from this position, if you have it as a puzzle, there is every chance that eventually it will hit upon the right idea. But if you are in the middle of a game, and you already had to foresee this actually, because once again, if knight c6 wasn't working, then the whole position would be really bad for white. So it actually needed to be seen hereabouts. That's just awesome. That is amazing with this e5 and the knight e4 stuff coming in. This is just chess beauty at its finest. I really appreciated this line. This is probably my favorite, where even we get to sacrifice the rook in order to eliminate the bishop. Very good stuff. And to be honest with you, I could call it off here and be happy with myself. Actually, am. That I managed to pass on this game to you, which indeed is an absolute classic. And this was basically played at the dawn of the Open Sicilian, and already playing such a beautiful attacking game, and it is just epic. But then, by sheer coincidence, I stumbled upon yet another Sicilian attack, which is actually in the same opening 2 decades later by a somewhat lesser known but still recognized Grandmaster Rantanen, who from his name I would assume is a Finnish GM, played this awesome attacking game. So I would like to show you this too. As you can see, identical lines, but here instead of g4 he goes for a bishop e2 variation, which is basically preparing for a queen sack. After e5, normally black just responds to bishop b7, and it all ends up in awkwardness. And in fact, this queen sack, although is playable, is not really good here. But white went for it anyway, and as you can see, the finish is going to be an absolute stunner. Bishop f3, rook c8, fe7, and queen b6. This was the big mistake. Queen b6 is a very soft move. Here black needs to play with quite a bit of aggression and care at the same time. So b4 was required, and after knight a4, g6 is the key move to deny f5. Because if f5 comes and I can't keep the pawn on e6 but have to play to e5, then similar disasters will happen to black to what happened in the game. So let's see what exactly happened there. So queen b6, to me, it's an apparently useless waste of move, because there is no threats involved and the queen doesn't even move out of this motif bunch of various knight moves, in particular these two, especially knight d5. So one would wonder, what on earth was the point? Rook e1, very frustrating move. Very frustrating move. To demonstrate the power of this, I would like to show you that white basically with rook e1 prepares for f5, and the most logical move to defend it with g6 still loses to f5, takes, knight takes, pawn takes, knight d5, paying the price for putting the queen on b6, mate. So the only way to prevent a disaster for black here is to lose a queen. Now instead he played h5. I think that he may have wanted to bring the rook up into the defense from here, but it's too little too late. f5 was coming in way too hard. Obviously rook e6 does nothing about the upcoming disaster, and after e5 now the fireworks begin. f6, beauty. Note again the same motif of e d4 takes g7, rook moves, knight d5, and we still have a mate as well as a hanging queen. So he had to respond one way or another. Taking on f6 is equally disastrous. This is a good demonstration of d5 f5 squares being horrendously weak in the Sicilian and them being exploited. So black opted for the more sensible g6, but what it did do was that it basically cut off his king and in fact gave him no breathing room, and so rook takes e5 came in to finish this masterpiece. Look at that, d5 check, rook takes. Actually, sorry, black resigned, but really this was the most beautiful finish that could have occurred in the game. And after knight takes c6, despite of being a queen up, black cannot stop the check, followed by a subsequent checkmate, no matter what they do. A really awesome attack. Once again, it needed black's aid, but you could see that it was only one slip on black's side. So this is a dodgy line, and yet one move it took, which is not really a blunder of any kind. It's just a move that doesn't really address the problems in the position, and from here on white just relentlessly attacked the king until it was totally finished. Beautiful chess, absolutely awesome 2 games. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope to be back with more videos very soon. Thank you very much for watching. Bye.